encountered small gray-skinned aliens with balloon-shaped heads.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of already in public thought. And then in 1893, H.G. Wells wrote an article called The Man of the Year Million, which described humanity's future appearance as having no mouths, nose, or hair, and with larger heads. So, like, he already thinks it could be future humans, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy. I did not know H.G. Wells was in the 1800s.
Yeah, late 1800s, I guess, but yeah. And then 2 years later, in 1895, he wrote a novel, The Time Machine, which also described the successor species to humanity, which he called the Eloi, and he said they looked similar, but that was a novel. So, but it's kind of interesting that that's already out there in literature.
Right.
Um, but one of the first accounts of a gray alien encounter was in 1917, where occultist Aleister Crowley described meeting an entity named Lamb that looked similar to a gray alien. And he said he contacted the entity through something called Amalan- Amalantra workings, which he thought allowed humans to contact beings in outer space and in other dimensions.
Are you familiar with Aleister Crowley?
Yes. Yeah, I had to look him up to make sure it was who I was thinking, but it's
Yeah.
like that's crazy. But
I,
I don't know. He could be a topic too.
we should do an episode on him. I don't know if I believe a
Yeah.
damn word he says, though.
Yeah. And then there's a drawing that he drew of what lamb looked like. Lam.
Oh, that
I feel
does
like I'm
look like
saying,
a.
yeah, just not the big black eyes, I guess.
Right. But don't they kind of
Other
usually
than
have, like,
that,
squinty big eyes? You know what I mean? Like, they're like. I feel like I've seen them with, like, very narrow eyes.
yeah, some people say that. Yeah. Other people say it's like the giant, like, takes up
Right, like
all their
alien
face.
eyes.
But
Yeah.
yeah. But I think the squinty eyes people do say. But yeah, since then, other occultists and ufologists have said they also encountered Lamb and described the being as beyond human comprehension, like seeming emotionally cold and having a computer-like intelligence. But I also think like he's such a big occultist, like people would just follow.
I know. I know. I was just thinking that. Like, granted, I just need to know if these people knew him or knew
Yeah,
of him. You know what I mean? Like, but I feel like if you're an occultist, you
right.
know who he is because he was like the
Exactly,
guy.
yeah. Yeah, he's like in a lot of stuff, so we should do an episode.
Yeah.
Then in 1933, there was another novel published by Gustav Sandgren called The Unknown Danger, which he described a race of aliens wearing gray fabric and being short with a big bald head and large dark eyes. So, like, I mean, that's pretty close to the 60s. So I feel like the description of the grays has already been in kind of pop culture before,
Right. Before anyone said that they saw them.
right, before the abduction case, I guess, with Barney and Betty.
Yeah.
Um, but the next type is the reptilians, which I feel like a lot of people talk about, but they're tall, scaly humanoids said to replace people of high import, such as celebrities and politicians, to take over the world.
Like the queen, the royal family.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's the one I always think of. Who is There's a guy who's really into it. David Icke, maybe?
Yep.
I don't know. There's some, yep. There's like one guy that's like his thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and he thinks
Oh,
they
it's right there. Okay, yeah.
yeah, it's
Why do I
coming
know
up
that off the
soon.
top of my head?
I don't know,
I'm
we're
like,
all
oh yeah, David Icke.
there's a lot
Reptilians,
of
of
well-known
course.
names in these involved in these.
Yeah.
But yeah, some think the Illuminati too, if they're real, are run by reptilians.
Yeah.
And they say you can tell if it's a reptilian in disguise because their eyes will turn into slits or they'll blink horizontally like lizards before going back to a human.
Oh.
But there's a South Asian mythology with a creature called Naga, which are half human, half serpent creatures. So that's a pretty old myth. And more recently, in the 1980s, there were hundreds of reports of a lizard man in South Carolina, which I had not heard of. Maybe we should
No,
do a
maybe
story on
that's an
that.
episode too.
Yeah. But reptilians do exist heavily in fiction, so it could be like part of the collective conscience, and that could be influencing sightings or the conspiracy, which the conspiracy was popularized by just one person, David Icke, which I didn't know it was just one person.
I didn't either.
Yeah. But I mean, he's like the biggest one, but he's like the only one. Yeah.
But I kind of love it. Like, everyone knows about the lizard people. Okay, maybe not everyone knows about the lizard people, but like, I would say if you're like, oh, lizard people, people
Right.
kind of know what you're talking about, maybe. I don't know. I don't have like a real sense of like what's normal, but
That's true. I don't either, but I feel like you say lizard people and people know the general concept.
I'm gonna have to ask someone, like someone that
Poll.
I think is actually normal. Yeah, like,
Mhm.
are you familiar with the lizard
I should
people?
ask my college friends. Ask the group.
Yes.
They're
Yeah, they're very
good.
normal.
Yeah,
Like,
they
that's
had
a
never heard
good.
of celestial tea being a cult.
Oh,
So I feel like they will
I knew
not know
that.
about lizard people, but maybe. I don't know. To me, it's just like iconic now, but I can't believe he started it. And he started it in 1999.
It's that recent?
Yeah. Sure. But yeah, he published The Biggest Secret, is what he called it, and he shared his theory. And they said they are tall and drink blood and can shapeshift. I didn't know they drink blood. I kind of knew they're like
But
vicious.
that ties into the like Illuminati elite blood drinking adrenochrome.
Oh, yeah. He started it all. But he said he thinks they come from the Alpha Draconis star system, which I feel like some people do call them like,
Draconian.
yeah, draconians, yeah. I was trying to think, not dragons, but basically the same thing. And he said they're now hiding in underground bases on Earth. And he claims they take human form and gain political power to manipulate human societies. Both ancient and modern leaders have been reptilians, he said, which include the Rothschild, the Bush family, and the British royal family.
The Rothschild. I just
Yeah.
like I want to know if he had better theories before this one came out. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, was he ever credible?
Oh, yeah.
Because why would anyone listen to this man? He must have had
Right.
some
I don't
things that were
know.
true that came out that he talked about. But I always just wonder how you go from like being a normal
Right.
people to writing a book about how the political elites are
Yeah.
lizards from
And
space.
how to spread so quickly. Like, this is 24 years ago. This is in our lifetimes that this
I
started.
know.
And it's like,
I really am gonna have to ask people if they're familiar with the lizard people because maybe this is way more niche than I'm understanding.
well, yeah, maybe. But okay, so he now has supporters of his theory in 47 countries. And he gives lectures to crowds of like 6,000 plus people. I feel like it just exploded.
I know. He said, I have a good idea now.
And everyone loved it, I guess. And
Yeah.
also a poll of Americans in 2013. I wish they did this
Right?
again, but it indicated that 4% of registered voters believe in his conspiracy theory.
4%? That's kind of a lot to, like, believe it.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if I mean, that was 10 years ago. I wonder if it's more now or if it's like died down.
People were saying, you know, that lady that freaked out on the flight?
Yeah. Does she's a
Everyone
lizard?
was saying that the guy sitting next to her was a lizard person.
Oh, and that's why she
But
freaked out?
again, is this so niche because I'm too deep in
Mm.
this stuff to even understand what's normal? Probably.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that idea, but I feel like, because there's like movies and stuff, right? Like there's books
Yeah.
now and stuff. Like, people read it, even like sci-fi. Like, I don't think it's that niche.
I'm gonna have to start asking people.
I don't know. Let me message my friends right now
Hopefully, we
and
have an
see.
answer by the end of the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. What I say? Have you heard of lizard people or reptilians?
I would say lizard people. Or, like, are you familiar with the idea of the lizard
Okay.
people?
Let's see if anyone answers. I don't know. Okay. Well, that's all I have on lizard people, though. So the next type is Nordic aliens, also known as Pleiadians, which I don't think I've.
I've heard of the.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll share my when you're
Okay.
done.
They are said to resemble Nordic Scandinavians, described as 6 to 7 feet tall with long blonde hair, blue eyes, and fair skin. And they're thought to come from the Pleiades star system. But what did you want?
So
Or you wait till I'm totally done?
no, it's good. I like feel like I have heard so many like woo woo new age spiritual people talk about the Pleiadians. Like
Yeah.
I listened to this podcast, The Balanced Blonde, and she is always talking about how she's a Pleiadian and like she's not from
Oh.
here and like all these people say that they like contact the Pleiadians when they're doing transcendental meditation and
Oh.
like they're
Yeah.
very tied to like the new age spiritual movement.
Yeah. It is huge for that. And aren't they called star seeds, I think they're called? Like if
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the oracle decks that I got that I didn't realize was part of that, but it's like got images of Nordic aliens and stuff in it.
And there's also the Vesuvians, there's like a four big ones that they're into. I can't remember the other ones, but I
Oh,
feel like everyone wants to be a Pleiadian.
right, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like your higher self at this point. Like some
Yeah,
people think,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, but okay, George Adamski is among the first to claim contact with such aliens in the mid 1950s. And many people who claim contact with them say they have the power of telepathy, they're benevolent, and they have extreme physical beauty. Like almost to me similar to like descriptions of people seeing angels in that like they move people so much that like people cry from being overwhelmed with like pure love and beauty. Maybe alien or maybe angels are just aliens.
Aren't angels actually very scary though? Like
Yeah.
biblical angels?
Yeah, biblical angels are like balls of eyes
Monsters.
and stuff.
Yeah.
1,000 wings or something.
Yeah, scary.
But I think they can
Balls of
change form.
eyes.
Or like they're like strips of eyeballs in like a spherical
Yeah,
formation.
like a.
Like
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
like
talking about.
fourth dimension shapes or something too. Like
Yeah.
things that you can't comprehend. And then like there's like hundreds of wings somehow. Or like at least 10.
Yeah.
Hundreds to 10.
Anywhere in there.
Yeah, 10 to hundreds. Not more than hundreds. Um But these type of alien are often associated with spiritual growth and love and act as protectors for the contactee, especially now. I mean, I wonder when that started, the new age, because that is like you see it everywhere now when you're looking at like
Right.
spirituality. So I don't know when that
Pleiadians.
started, but
Probably the 50s. I don't know. Because I feel like the 60s and 70s had a lot of that new age
yeah,
stuff
that's
going
true.
on. Like free love. We're all taking acid. Like, and
Yeah,
we're talking to the Pleiadians.
right. Yeah, we're going to another dimension and talking to them through drugs. Um, where oh but yeah, people think they're like almost like magical and like they want to communicate with humans and are concerned about the earth's ecology and like world peace, so they're trying to like bring up what is it like our frequency, I guess, right, is what they would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the earth's frequency, like make it a more of a utopia, I guess, which